Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 60-Second Car podcast that is all about the beauty, the chaos, the family of the Fast and the Furious entire franchise. A podcast that will take every single minute, 60 seconds, of every single movie, one episode at a time. My name is Dan, or Danotage on the internet. I am lovely joined by my amazing co-host, Daniel, aka Overcord on Instagram and everywhere you can possibly find social media for probably only sane people, but I mean, some of these platforms, who knows these days. Host of Far Beyond Metal and the wonderful formerly Blipcast. Hello. Hi.
Hello, friend.
Are you ready for family?
I'm prepared to relive this franchise 60 seconds at a time or something. So, I tried to do the quarter mile thing. It doesn't really work, does it?
I was thinking about it. So, like, I'm going to be honest. I rewatched the entire first movie last night.
I had to fight the urge, but because I knew I wouldn't want to do it again in, I don't know, a week or two whenever we come back.
I was like, okay. I only need to watch the first few minutes because, I mean, a little behind the curtains, we're probably going to record a few episodes at a time here. We're busy, but we also want to not just meet for 30 minutes a day or for 30 minutes a week or whatever it might be. We're friends, and I'd like to spend some time and do this amazing podcast together.
I mean, the real reason behind this is that we're going to drop multiple episodes a week because otherwise it would take us, and I did the math, 30 years to do weekly. So if we're doing the entire franchise, including Hobbs and Shaw, and then the short films. Yeah, I did the math, and I mean, I'm down, but
I also want to do Vin Diesel's first short film. Do you know about that one?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what it's called, but it's like the short film that got the attention of Spielberg to then...
Is this the documentary about himself or like his origins or whatever?
Well, yeah, and he plays like a bunch of different races and stuff because like, his thing was that he's, racially ambiguous and he can kind of play anything. And then he, I guess, got the attention of Steven Spielberg, and that's how he got his first major role in Saving Private Ryan.
Yes, multifacial. I just looked it up.
Multifacial. That makes a lot of sense. But yeah, it's like I almost want to do that too, because like I was thinking about this, especially if we're in this movie, like we don't really know the race of the Toretto family. We do know that they're in East LA. So that may be hints towards something, but we got a lot of people here. I happen to live in Los Angeles now, and Daniel has visited us, Katie and I, because the history of yours and my friendship has to do with my partner, Katie, who you co-hosted a podcast with for a very long time.
I honestly feel like our friendship is based on me being a pawn. We were invited to be on a podcast you were doing at the time, and little did I know it was just so you could get to my co-host. We remained friends, but like I don't know, we talked about metal and stuff, and I don't remember much except for something about a kangaroo costume wearing backwards having a giant dick. I don't remember what the point of the podcast was. That's literally all I remember, and then here we are.
Yeah, that's actually extremely interesting because this goes all the way back to my podcasting origins, our friendship, because the first podcast that I like fully put together by myself, which was after that podcast about metal, is MHCP, Metal Hardcore Punk, was my own podcast, the Dan Sucks podcast, in which you made the theme song for.
That's right. I was thinking about that recently because I'm like, oh God, do I need to quickly make a theme song for this? Just play Dan. just play Dan Sucks backwards. We'll be fine.
Right. I did think about that as well today, and I was like, I don't know what it might be. Like if we can't use it, but the song that appears in this first movie that then becomes, or maybe it's a lyric, I'm not sure, but becomes the title to the second movie by the one Ja Rule creates an interesting origin story into the entire franchise.
Wow, I don't think I realized that was in this movie. Are you sure? Yeah. I mean, you watched the whole thing last night, so yeah. Okay.
I'm positive.
Wow.
So that there's a whole so the reason we're doing this podcast in the first place is because this is one of, if not my favorite franchise of all time. And before anybody gets on either one of us about the fact that these movies are good, bad, mediocre, weird, don't make any sense, I don't care. I really, really don't care. They're so fun. They are the epitome of let's go to the movies and have a great time. They've pretty much been around. They've been around since we were in high school. Middle school, high school ish, and that was like a big deal, especially for high schoolers who were first learning how to drive and getting their first cars and stuff like that. And
first getting fast, first getting furious those days.
It's just, life is just fast and furious. And now it's grown into, literally everybody's in the franchise now, it seems.
I did not see the growth of this franchise coming. To be honest, I got into this series way late. And by way late, I mean like 2020. It was one of those things where, so also new potential people who don't know our origins. I am married to a woman named Katie. So we are two pairs of Dans and Katies. So from here on out, Katie Bear. Katie Bear and I had nothing to do when everything was locked down. So we decided to give these movies a go. And after the first one, we were absolutely hooked. We secured our tickets for the Fast 10 premiere here in town. We're stoked. We're going. We almost had a 5th anniversary party that was going to be Fast themed. So we got in hard. In 2001, if you would have told me that 22 years later, I'd be here, I wouldn't believe you. I'd ask you what? No.
It's funny how that works. I've been watching the movies, I think, pretty much as they came out. I think I saw the first one with my cousin, who was quite a bit older than me, not quite a bit, like 5 years older than me. And he was the one that kind of drove me around, stuff like that. He was kind of sort of into cars, and we saw the movie, and I knew I'm not a car person. I think that's gonna be a big point of a disclaimer we're gonna have to put at the beginning of this podcast for all these episodes. We're not car guys, or at least I'm not. I don't know how much you are. Okay, we're not car people. And I mean, most will probably say that after the first and maybe second movie, possibly third, they're not really car people either, other than the fact that they drive them and they're really good at driving them.
I can name one car in this franchise, and that's only because I bought Katie Bear a Lego of that car.
Okay. All right.
That is, of course, the Charger, but that's
the Charger. Yeah. There's a big meme I think it stems from the first movie. We'll get to that probably in a future episode, but people go crazy over the Toyota Supra because and that's the 10-minute car that eventually shows up. But okay, so that is why this is called the 60-second car. I mean, first of all, it's obviously a thing on the fact that this will be covering 60 seconds of the movies all 1 minute at a time, but also something I noticed is 10-second car is a line that gets dropped a lot more than I thought it did in this movie. They say the words 10-second car a lot, and I thought it was just something that was pinned in there, and I was like, oh, 60-second car makes sense. But then I realized it gets dropped a lot.
When we were fishing for a name, I think we had Minute. We were trying to play on that. I'm like, obviously 60-second car is a hit or something like that. We're like, bam, that's it.
I think the first idea I had was the 1 minute car. And I think you came up with 60-second car, and I was like, yeah, that works way better. So yeah, I think this will be a fun podcast. This first episode obviously covers the first minute, and I think most movies the first minute is not really that crazy. I think it's kind of special when the first minute is insane. But there are some cool things that I know, Daniel, you have a lot of notes on, and we'll definitely get to a lot of that. But I also wanted to preface everything at the beginning that says this is going to be a long sort of drawn out series of episodes, but we're going to try to make every episode special and individual and fun. In fact, I think most of you listening to this might not even be interested until the third movie. I think if anything is indicative of the fan base, there are people like me who've been watching the whole time. There are people like you that have picked it up late but still like the entire serise. There are people who...
That's not me, but go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, there are people who only like the first movie and they fall off after the first movie, and they're like, the two is okay, but it's still kind of weird. Then there are people who like all the way up through the third movie and then stop because it's too crazy. And then there are people who only like after the third movie. And so there might be people that come in now and drop off later. There might be people that won't come in until episode, I don't know, 90 or 100. We'll see how it goes. But 3 days a week, you can find this podcast on everywhere you find podcasts in the audio only version. But we're also doing this live here on Twitch. If you want to watch this live, the recording will not stay up. So if you want to come and, chat or interact and whatever, do this live here at twitch.tv/Danotage, or you can see the recorded video version edited and put all together, just like the same as the audio version will be over on YouTube, youtube.com/Danotage, where you can find all the stuff. I presume most people will probably listen to this in their cars and audio and stuff like that. But, obviously put it out for options all across the board. And now, shall we get into our first minute?
Yes. So I just first want to do a quick overview of just like the general movie. We're of course talking about the 1954 John Ireland, Dorothy Malone film, The Fast and the Furious, right? The story of a man who kidnaps a woman and tries to get away from the cops over the Mexican border. Because he's an escaped prisoner and wants to clear his name, right? That's the movie we're talking about. So I learned there's another movie from the 50s called The Fast and the Furious when I was just like fucking around trying to like do some initial research. And I was like tempted to be like, all right, so bonus episodes, we do that movie too. But then I was like, I don't want to do that.
How long is the movie?
I don't know, but
it's from the 50s, so it's probably not that long.
Or it's an eternity.
It might be an eternity. I didn't know it existed. This is the first me hearing that this existed.
We got a nice 73 minutes. Honestly, that's hella doable. Very
that is
cool.
doable. It's not 90, and some of these are way past 90.
Sure are. Let's come back to that stupid idea. So the first minute of the Vin Diesel franchise, the mostly Vin Diesel franchise, Fast and the Furious. Like we initially had some discrepancies about where we started the film based on how we got to it, but I think we eventually landed on a lot of this first minute is of course the Universal logo, which which makes me want to go on the ride and go down to LA and try and go to Simpsons Land. It just makes me think of that whole thing because apparently that's who I am now and that's where my brain is.
The last time I went to Universal, I think, was with you.
I've never been to Universal with you. We've been to Disneyland together.
Maybe I thought of you when we went to the Simpsons Land. That might have been the thing.
A lot of people do, and I appreciate that.
I've been once in the past, probably my entire life. It's probably the second time I've actually ever gone. I think we were living in San Diego at the time. We weren't even here. It's literally a hop, skip, and a jump. Not even. It's like a hop. But you've never been the parts that so. They changed a classic ride for the Fast and the Furious stuff as well. I believe it's part of the studio tour that has been around since the beginning of Universal, essentially. And they put that in. It's kind of good. It's kind of a good part of it. And I've seen it once.
Hold on.
What?
Don't go diving too far into the ride. We've got to do a series about the ride. How are we going to break that down minute by minute? But we got to do it.
It's only a few minutes long. At least that part of it.
Yeah, it's a chunk of the ride.
No, it's not, but I can't spoil why. It's kind of, it's really cool. I actually do want to show you. I want to take you. That'd be fun.
Hell yeah. All right. So we're going to do the entire tour in a future season. Cool. Including looking at, I don't know, the the town square from The Good Place, or the Jaws shark coming at you. No, I'm getting too far into it. Anyway, so this movie, I guess.
I guess. The first thing we see is like sort of like it looks like we're looking through stained glass in a way. Here, I'll show this here. Inside of an industrial park or where they're transferring something. We see a bunch of containers and things moving around, and we're like, well, this isn't really Cars, but it's very Hollywood, right? We can understand that there's probably something to set up here.
I was thinking when I was watching last night that for a movie that is Cars, ultimately, the screen that has the name of the movie not being Cars is weird. It's a shipping container.
It is a shipping container. And kind of a lot of this first minute is a shipping container or a truck pulling the shipping container. And I like, okay, so here's the Fast and the Furious logo, or the title screen. By the way, kind of the most 90s text and font that I've ever seen.
When I was making our logo, I had to do some digging to find that font, and the one I found that's closest is called Chongo One font. So shout out to Chongo One, you're the real VIP. But yeah, so it hits. It's shitty, fake metal, shiny. It gives me like Matrix vibes, even though it's not that at all. But you know, Matrix had everything.
Sort of T2, Terminator 2 vibes.
Absolutely.
The solidification of like a liquid of some sort, it seems. It's super 90s. It works though, because like and obviously we'll see in like scenes and stuff like that, there's sort of a 90s brown tint to everything, I've noticed. And this first scene kind of shows you this is what it's going to look like. This is the film grade that is being used throughout the whole thing. But they kind of do a good job with it because we see like a lot of similar colors, but almost to create some sort of contrast later. Yeah.
So also in this minute, we are introduced to maybe the most important non-character of this whole film. We get a shipping container full of DVD players and DVD combos, which it's just a sign of the times. And I decided to look up how much you can get one of these for. On eBay right now, they go from $50 to $400. So I imagine they were a lot more then, but like imagine that truck now.
So yeah, this truck, it's got VCRs, as we see, like stacked up, but it's also got like, there's no flat screens. There's not like, this is before like we saw all these fancy new TVs, but it's like around that time that they started coming out. These are mostly it's a truck full of, which is the staple plot of sort of the whole movie. We've got TVs, we've got VCRs. Is that all that's really in here? So it's all Panasonic, which I assume they're one of the sponsors of the movie because everything is Panasonic. And are DVDs around at this point?
You know, I guess I assumed they were. Maybe they were just getting. Maybe that's why this is a hot commodity.
I know VCRs are very expensive now. Like people are still collecting them and having a great time with it.
I don't think I got my first DVD until like 2005, so I took forever to get on that train. Maybe they were way ahead of it. And even then, I didn't have a DVD player. I just played my PlayStation 2.
Yeah, I think I did the same thing. And then, you know, if it had if the disc had a scratch at all in it, it would just run that scene of like things floating in the air because it wouldn't run the disc that you put in there. You're like, I don't know what's wrong. It's not doing anything, but there it is. This must have also been close to the time where HD DVD HD. Oh no! This is no. I'm thinking too far ahead. HD DVD versus Blu-ray was the next battle and war of things happening in video technology.
This is the time of peace after the Great Betamax VHS war, I think.
Yeah, that exactly. So was there no competitor to DVD? I don't remember one.
Not that I know of. I mean, I think Laserdiscs may have still been limping around, but they weren't a competition.
Right. Interesting. So yeah, we get a full pullback of the truck full of Panasonics that just, I guess, got shipped over from wherever they were manufactured into the lovely LA docks. As we see, and also right as we pull out of it, we see the LA docks and this man in a yellow hard hat who we'll never see again.
Yeah, I tried to look into who this guy was because for future episodes, I wrote down some character notes, actor notes, whatnot, but I honestly didn't try very hard with this guy either.
I don't think anybody did.
But like, this will be more next episode conversation about this guy, but it's fascinating that we don't see him again.
Right. And so this whole first few minutes actually is a lot of either extras or stuntmen. We don't see anybody for a while. And this guy, even so, like after watching the movie, you see that like there's an obvious ADR, right? They didn't record him saying anything, which means that he might have been a producer or something. He might have just been some guy that was there. It was like, hey, we need you to say this line because we need. They may have gone the whole movie and be like, we don't really have a setup to why they're doing a lot of this stuff. We need an insert here, an insert scene. And so this guy's like, hey, I got the stuff, or the stuff just dropped. I just loaded it up. Don't forget my cut is one of the things he says.
I have the exact line written down.
Okay, thank you.
Just pack up the real money load. It's coming your way. Look for Rogers on the truck side. Don't forget my side of the deal, which is funny to me because that implies that like maybe somebody forgot in the past, or like that bit of exposition is so interesting to me because why would you say that? Is it just bad writing? Like, or is it just like trying to like, this is the bad guys. This is just how bad guys talk. Don't forget my cut. Is that something a bad guy would say, right?
Don't forget my cut. Yeah, I mean, as we know, this is also a movie about, it's a whole franchise kind of about glorifying the bad guys. Like, bad guys are actually not really the bad guys. They're kind of the okay in the middle guys. They're the, we do things because we have to guys, but we don't try to hurt anybody. We don't want to do that, guys.
But people get hurt and we don't talk about it.
Right,
or
exactly. Many
movies.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Oh man, I'm so excited for this entire journey we're about to take. So yeah, he talks to the guy, or he talks to whoever he's talking to. We don't know if this is a main character yet. We just know that he's doing this. It's obviously ADR'd, and then it flips over to, we see the truck drive by that says Rogers on it. So we obviously know that's what it is. We noticed that I don't know if people noticed this before knowing what happens with it, but the truck is riding pretty high. It's on a trailer that is not very normal. That changes in so many different scenes. The trailer that they're actually using in the shot is like, there's like 4 trailers. They're all pretty different, but the one that we see in the yard here is one of the ones that is riding pretty high and has a very big space underneath it.
Right, which will come into play in, I believe, our next minutes.
Yeah. But we do get to see something coming up here. We obviously, it cuts to obviously way later, I would assume in the same day, because if in the scene where the guy is talking, I don't know what time, it's got to be mid-afternoon, late afternoon-ish. And then I don't know if the guy's been driving for the last 3 or 4 or 5 hours, but the next scene we see, still within the same minute, it's dark. It's pitch black outside.
Yeah.
And I'm going to apologize for any of the video watchers that were going through these screenshots. The next couple minutes, this episode, the next episode, and probably the next episode, they're all very dark. They're all extremely dark because it's all at night and it's all interesting. But it is cool because we also see these cool cars and stuff like that. But I don't know. We see this Rogers truck. I don't really. That's pretty much what we got, right?
Yeah, I wonder if there was any significance to Rogers. I could have looked it up. I didn't. But maybe it's a well-known shipping company I don't know about. We can only speculate.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't. Not that I know.
You're not one of the many shipping companies you know of?
No. Back in my day of shipping things, it wasn't really. It didn't really come up,
Yeah, I got you.
But I mean, what do we have to say about like this first minute? We don't know what's going on still. We know that we've seen the trailers before seeing this movie. Oh, I don't know. Did you see any trailers? Have you watched any trailers for this movie? Oh
no. I guess I should, or I could, but I did not.
So the trailers are interesting. They kind of set you up for something that doesn't really happen too much in the movie itself, right? Because like we'll talk about a couple of characters, but they show off some characters that are literally in the movie for like a scene, and then they're kind of never there again. But they tell you it's all about cars. They tell you it's mostly about racing. I think all the trailers are about racing. None of the actual A plot, I guess this is technically, is really shown from what I remember.
Yeah, I don't think I knew there was even a heist until I listened to a different podcast about this franchise. I honestly thought they were somehow an entire franchise of car racing. And
this is the only podcast about this franchise.
Yeah, I meant this in the future tense.
Okay.
I'm going to listen back to this.
Right. Okay. No, I'm sure there are. I actually don't know. I've never listened to it. I've listened to a lovely podcast called All Fantasy Everything, where they've done, I believe, 2 different drafts on the Fast and the Furious franchise. I can't remember. They might have only done 1, but they did draft, and it's a podcast about drafting things that they would like a fantasy draft. And they did a Fast and the Furious franchise draft. And I'm gonna be honest, I think they only picked like 1 or 2 things from this movie.
Okay.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. I've listened to, How Did This Get Made? They do an episode on the new movies every time they come out with Adam Scott. It's like a tradition of theirs. And then Newcomers did an entire series where they both watched them for the first time and then reacted to them. And that was a fun ride. But don't listen to those. They're trash. We're the best
one. I wonder if this is also one of the movies that Scott Aukerman hasn't seen.
Oh, good question. Well, I guess we'll probably find out on his show next week. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Maybe. We'll find out then.
Yeah. Do you have anything else on this first minute?
The only thing I have is while the first minute was playing, there was a song playing underneath, and I Shazammed it. And it apparently is a song called Intro by Chipinkos. Chipinkos. And I tried to find this song, and it was a pain in the ass because this guy has a ton of albums, and a lot of them start with a track called Intro. On Apple Music, since 2016, Chipinkos has released 103 albums. Not all of them have an intro, but he has done like Buckethead numbers with his output. Some are EPs that are like 12 minutes. There's a whole 45-minute thing. But yeah, Chipinkos intro is apparently, according to my watch and Shazam, and some Reddit thing, I saw the intro track. And I've not gone any further than finding out who this guy is, but I'm fascinated by this output. So look for my spinoff, the Chipinkos podcast, where we do every album by album.
Oh my God, that might be longer than this podcast.
If we go minute by minute, yeah, but probably not going to do that.
I'm on Apple Music and I'm just scrolling.
Yeah,
I'm still scrolling. Wow, what, he started in 2015? That's not even that long ago. Not really.
Right, but that's the thing that winds up putting a hole in, because I'm thinking not all of his output is on Apple Music because this movie's from 2001.
That's true.
He could not have started in 2015. So either Shazam is wrong and I'm giving some rando a shout out and people on Reddit are also wrong, or this dude has an entire other lifetime of discography that's not online.
Well,
I hope it's big.
The information having like a bunch of different things called intro sounds like it corroborates that story.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never heard of the person. This many albums. Granted, I'm not huge into the hip hop scene. I know quite a bit, but this seems like some underground stuff. We should also say that like this movie, I believe the director is only on for the first two.
I meant to look more into that. I only know the kind of like Justin Lin.
So Justin Lin is like the guy that picked it up and ran with it.
Right.
Because and then he used that to make like Star Trek and stuff like that. But I don't know, because like people will probably sit there and they'll blame certain people for changing the story so drastically and whatnot, but I'm like, where else are you gonna go with this? That's just how it's gonna be. Let's see. Ken Lee was the writer. Oh, he's one of the writers. He's also a writer from Racer X, the magazine. Director Rob Cohen, which he's not one of the Coen brothers, but Rob Cohen, who is he's also the director for Triple X, which came out the next year, and a Bruce Lee movie.
Supposedly retired in 2018. He's back this year. Here we go. Up, sexual abuse allegations. Maybe not. Ungo.
But yeah, so not only did does this franchise start very differently, and literally with this first minute, I think we see a very specific tone that gets shifted, but obviously with a whole bunch of different people involved and a director shift, it changed a whole lot of the way it goes. But if we know anything about Vin Diesel, we know that he is very much the ringleader to all of this, and the reason that everybody gets their glory and all their things that happen. And we'll get into the drama that is The Rock and Vin Diesel in a
few years,
in a while, yeah, because he doesn't show up till Fast 5, right? I think it's
5 or
Fast
6.
5. Yeah, I think he shows up in Fast 5, so that'll be in like 4 years. We'll get there eventually. But yeah, I mean, there's not much else to say about minute one. I think this episode was very specifically to kind of introduce what's going on, and hopefully you find the concept interesting. I don't know if we want to go any further into it, but I think this is a good spot to be like, hey, we're gonna do it. We've got a long way to go. We got a lot of things to talk about, and we've got a bunch of movie to get through. So hopefully this first minute is interesting enough to you. And if you know the franchise, love the franchise like we do, you'll come back and watch more. So
y'all come back now.
Y'all come back now. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Big shout outs to everybody that's supporting us and everybody around the world. Big shout outs to Vin Diesel. Come on the podcast. I'm saying this in the first episode. Come on the podcast. We'd love to have you. We all know that you're a cool guy, and
we play D&D. You'll play D&D with us, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. I'll roll some dice. Absolutely. And we'll see you all next time. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.